every day we face experiences. We record them. After a few days or a few weeks, most times we forget them. Once in a while, these memories come back. But we are okay. We keep moving. We have come to learn that experiences, some good, some bad, are a part of why we are here. And these are things that we'll continue to experience as long as we are here. When it becomes disturbing is when someone has anxiety, someone is terrified because of traumatic experiences that bring about flashbacks. Welcome, it's Wellness and Living, and our topic today is post-traumatic stress disorder. My name is Thelma Obaze. At every time in our life's journey, we perform and function better when we're in our best health. Some experiences happen, some good, some bad. Some of us don't take it so well. Some of us recover and get back on the saddle and continue to move. While some recover, but not at the fast pace as it is in some cases with some other people. And according to fresh quotes, often it's not the initiating trauma that brings about seemingly insurmountable pain. It is the lack of support after. As we often do, we went out. We asked you some questions. We bring you the answers.
It happened last year. I was traveling with my friend, went to buy goods in Aba. We now suggested that we should enter night bus. When we entered, we now caught up with armed robbers. So they now stopped the motor and asked all of us to come down. They searched us. They did not see anything on me, so they now said they're going to choke me knife. So we're now begging. I don't like stress naturally. Till now, if I still remember it, I'll be bleeding.
One of those days, as teens, and as one of those persons that loves football, we just had to leave home those days, couple of friends to go play football. And from football, it went to a sort of another business. There was this stream around the football area. So we said we should go have a little swim. And in the process of jumping into the river or the stream, all I had, a sharp cut under one of my feet. And I can refer to it until this day as the highest cut I ever had. And so each time I recall that, it's such a painful experience. And funny enough, the football we went to play that we left for the swimming, that very cut prevented me from playing the football for a very long time.
There was a fire burn in a particular building. Yeah, so the woman who is in charge of the building has a house help. So at a point, she was about going out. She locked the door and the girl was inside. On her way back, she discovered that the apartment is on fire. There is nothing she could do. The girl in question got burned inside the house. So the fear of what she is going to explain to the parent of the particular girl that got burnt came into her. She became restless, and at a point she ran out of the house. So when the husband came and asked and saw what happened, he asked of the wife, and the wife ran out of the house because of the fear of the husband. And at a point, she was discovered somewhere by the neighbor. She was just wandering, talking, soliloquizing, so to say, talking to herself just at random. And they brought the report to the husband that they saw your wife. I want to suppose that happened as a result of what she caused to that house girl, and she couldn't bear it.
The one I could remember is when I was sacked, where I'm working before. The thing came unexpected, being that, hoping that at least that year it'd be a wonderful year. But when the year was cut short because of my sack, that became a stress to me and weighed me down. It's not only me and my family that year we could not able to do what we expected to do. To pay our rent became a problem, to pay school fees became a problem.
Yeah, it was my grandmom, though she was old, but I really miss her. Whenever I remember her, I used to shed tears. It was a painful experience.
The first thing I did is for me to be prayerful, and I went for counseling because when he was telling on me, people was telling me that I'm getting lean, demarcated. God provided another way for me. Then that's why I'm able to overcome it.
No, I don't think I have trauma. I don't have trauma because I don't give room for traumas. Whatever comes, I take. Because scripturally, that is what it is. I believe in nature. So whatever comes, I take. If it is life, I take. If it is death, I take. If it is enjoyment, I take. If it is hardship, I take. Whatever.
I have realized that talking about stuff usually helps. When you find someone you can talk to, then, okay, don't isolate yourself. Take walks, go out, meet people. It will help relieve you of whatever it is you're thinking of, and if you take your mind off the tragic situation.
A very critical part of our lives and living it is the ability to surmount and to survive devastating experiences and challenges. They will occur at different points in our lives. We will have experiences we'd rather not have. It could be the loss of a loved one. It could be the exit of a much-loved job. It could even be relocation. This life is not a smooth glide. You go up, you come down, you go up again, and then you come down. However it may be, you cannot treat a deep gash, a deep injury with a band-aid. A wounded soul must get the requisite treatment, and it's out there. But first, you must identify what the ailment or what the challenge is. And that's why, because we're talking about post-traumatic stress disorder, we decided to bring to the fore well-researched and well-documented information, so we are all better able to identify and to seek the requisite treatment if we know anyone who has this stress disorder. Post-traumatic stress disorder is a disorder characterized by failure to recover after experiencing or witnessing a terrifying event. It is also very common all over the world. In Nigeria, for example, research shows that there are at least 1.5 million cases diagnosed on a yearly basis. It is natural to feel afraid during and after a traumatic situation. But when it gets worrisome is when it brings about severe anxiety and unrelenting fear and nightmarish experiences. Most people who go through traumatic events may have temporary difficulty adjusting and coping, but with time and good self-care, they can get better. If symptoms get worse and last for months and years and interfere with your day-to-day functioning, you may have post-traumatic stress disorder. This stress disorder may start within 1 month of a traumatic event, but sometimes symptoms may not appear for years after the event. The symptoms cause significant problems in social and or work situations, and they are categorized in 4 types. The 4 types of symptoms that could diagnose post-traumatic stress disorder are intrusive memories. The second one is avoidance. And the third, negative changes in thinking and mood. The fourth example and symptom is there could be changes in physical and emotional reactions. Symptoms can vary over time and differ from person to person. Post-traumatic stress disorder can affect anyone, young or old, male or female, and can present in varying degrees and intensity. The best thing to do is to seek help when and if disturbing thoughts and feelings about a traumatic event last for more than a month. If one has trouble getting life under control, and especially if suicidal thoughts crop up. Getting treatment early for post-traumatic stress disorder is the most desirable and effective path to a full and complete recovery. It's Kelly Harrell who reminds us that we do not heal in isolation, but in a community. We are your community today. In spite of what you may have been through, little matter how devastating it may have been, you are here because you matter and because you count. And most importantly, because you surmounted and you survived. And for that reason, you can smile. We're talking with our outreach medical professional, always busy, but always ready to have a candid chat with us, Dr. Ebuta Agbo. He's always doing some outreach work, but when we tell him we need detailed information about causes, about symptoms, and about treatment of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, he availed himself. Here is what he said.
Post-traumatic stress disorder, is a normal reaction to an abnormal event. So most times we approach it like this. You have a mental health condition where a person reacts following an exposure to either a terrifying event or a life-threatening event. The person has an abnormal reaction that persists longer than 1 month. Most of this reaction comes in clusters of symptoms. So we generally would break it down to the first set of symptoms, second, third, and fourth that comes in a group. So most times the person would have what you call the reliving or the re-experience or reliving the episode or the event. So the person would have nightmares and then would have flashbacks and would have situations where it actually seems as if he or she is passing through that stress period. And to a large extent, it's very disturbing and leads the patient to avoiding certain cues or situations or persons or places that are known to trigger some of those re-experiences. Re-experience nightmares, flashbacks, avoidant behavior, negative tendencies like socialism, lack of interest in joyful activities, and the last one, which basically will be abnormal reactions to social stimuli, like patients who to a large extent would be hypervigilant, anxious, and with certain mood disorders. To a large extent, what triggers post-traumatic stress disorders are events. These events are a gamut. They occur in both combat situations and in civilian situations, like maybe combat situations where you have war, like what we have in the Northeast, conflicts and all that. Civilian situations like rape cases, personal, interpersonal conflict and traumas, even some stressful health, near-death situations that are life-threatening to a large extent can can also cause it. Even in road traffic accidents and stressful life-threatening situations can also be the triggering factor for and then domestic violence is also a very important triggering factor. In fact, it's been said that for when you have exposure to probably domestic violence like rape and all that, your chances of developing post-traumatic stress disorder is as much as 50%, as opposed to combative situations where it's probably around 10% or thereabout. If you've been through any stressful situation and you've noticed that even after about 1 month after the situation, you are still experiencing nightmares, flashbacks, difficulties in dealing with people, irritability, and you tend to avoid certain situations that trigger it, then you should seek help. And help is certainly available because you have a lot of psychologists and mental health experts, family physicians, who would be able to assess your situation and direct you properly. There's some level of resilience that may protect you. People who tend to have a family history of anxiety and depression are more at risk of developing post-traumatic stress disorder, because it will surprise you to know that when they looked at twins who were monozygotic, that is identical, had a high rate of post-traumatic stresses occurring in both of them as much as 30%, as opposed to twins who were not identical, where it was dissimilar to number of brothers and sisters. So that tells you that there is indeed a genetic contribution to What is important to note is that post-traumatic stress disorder reduces the functionality and the quality of life of the person affected. So to get you back to a functional level, indeed, you must seek help. And help makes a lot of difference. There are different interventions that are available, both psychological and medications. But it's important to know that at the baseline, psychological intervention, therapy like counseling, cognitive behavioral therapy, and 1 or 2 other interventions are core. They must be added. Medications in themselves, to a large extent, may contribute, but you tend to want to use them when you have built a level of resilience with certain interventions, like the psychotherapy. Exposure therapy is one of the cornerstone of certain interventions, where some psychologists under controlled environments would want to expose the victim to the triggering event. In that scenario, they are able to manage the symptoms and use psychotherapy to cut off the thought and behavioral processes that trigger the manifestation. Release that experience, and then you are able to say, okay, in the process of relieving the experience, you are able to say, okay, well, this doesn't lead to my dying. Even if I'm anxious, I'm shaking, I'm worried, I'm thinking I'm going to die, I'm going to go through this doesn't lead to that. And then you're able to interrupt the thought process that recycles in the brain and persists and manifests as anxiety, avoidance, relieving, and poor management of social and relationship challenges. There are people who have had absolute complete recovery, but the risk of relapse is always there. So most people who have had previous experience, because the experience is there, it's not like the experience completely goes. So you need to be alert and you need to be constantly exposed to the kind of treatment. But some people have been able to rise above those challenges by certain novel interventions. We've had situations where some people have used dog therapy, which is outside the normal. Some gentlemen following the Iraq war and the Afghanistan war are doing what you call the soften therapy. So whatever interventions that is designed for you, what is important is to follow through with it. And to a large extent, results have been noted to be very good and improve patient functionality, which is what we aim for at the end of the day.
post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD, is a whole body tragedy, an integral human event with massive repercussions. It affects the entire body, the mind, and the soul. So says Susan Bennett. Acknowledge, identify, seek treatment. All in all, you need a solid support system, and that's what we're reiterating today as we talk about exercise. It's ideal to work out and to unwind with family and friends. They become your support system, and that way you get the best results. In spite of what you may have gone through, you will have fun. They can physically and mentally hold you up when you only want to sink lower. And that's why when we work out, we always work out with family and with friends. We bring together excerpts of different exercise regimen and body works that we have done together with family and with friends to further drive the message home. Why do you think it's more fun to work out with family and friends? Working out already can be loads of fun. It can also be therapeutic and refreshing. But it is even more so when you do it with a group of people, especially with your friends, people you are familiar with, and family. It can start as a casual choice, a way to pass the time when you are bored or down in the dumps. When your friends and family make it great fun and a splendid opportunity to unify and share in the best health and wellness results, it gradually becomes something you all look forward to. There are games, there is more motivation, and there can be healthy competition. The results are fast and sure. Regular workouts build stamina, endurance, agility, and strength. Regular workouts also help you shed weight and lead a disciplined and structured life. 7, 8. Invite your friends. Tell your family members. Start to work out together. When you team up to sweat it out, you all emerge refreshed and rejuvenated together. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Super fantastic. Appreciate your good health and functioning body, even if it's not your ideal size. Move your body around every now and again. Nourish and nurture it. Revel in your body's amazingness. Be happy in spite of whatever circumstances you may have gone through, are going through, or will go through. We are reminded of this by Holly Butcher. Holly Butcher did not survive a devastating cancer known as Ewing sarcoma. And in the last year of her life, she began to document her experiences, and she deliberately chose to find joy in everything that she was privileged to witness in that last 12 months. If you have any ailment, seek help. Tell a friend, tell a family member. There is the requisite treatment for whatever ails you. We have been talking about post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Treatment is available. Get help now. My name is Thelma Obaza. Bye-bye for now.
I was hired into NTA in 1982, shortly after my youth corps. And I began service in NTA Sokoto as a reporter stroke translator. NTA at that time obviously was the country's only network. And so it was indispensable to the nation's mass communication system. NTA was loved by everyone. If you were a reporter and the CEO on television, it's like wherever you go, they just embrace you and then they love you. There's admiration for NTA, there's admiration for whoever worked for NTA. In social circles, you are respected. And in any case, then you didn't have all of this competition from the satellite networks. And there was no other network on. So at events, if you went for coverage, then there was a lot of discipline on the part of the NTA. I'm talking particularly about the network center. You would be there on time, because if NTA was not present at the press conference, it would not start. That was how it was. So therefore, for people so that they don't even abuse you for keeping them waiting, you just had to be there. So NTA was needed by everybody for everything that they needed to do. And the pressure then obviously was enormous because everybody wanted to be on network news.
On the news tonight.
This is the network service of the NTA.